Hey everyone, this is The Word Made Fresh, and today we're going to talk about, well, not running. We're talking about compassion and sheep and shepherds. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, the digital minister here at the Riverside Church, and this is The Word Made Fresh, the weekly video Bible study and sermon prep resource where we talk about an upcoming lectionary passage. You can comment about it. You can share this with anyone who would benefit from a resource like this. Maybe you're a Bible study leader or a preacher, or you know a Bible study leader or preacher, or just someone who's into, Bible stuff. Okay, I'm out on my morning run, thus the shirt and thus the out of breathness, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this Sunday's lectionary passage, the gospel passage, in particular, one verse of it. Matthew 9:36 says this: "When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd." Now, the gospel text for this coming Sunday, it goes more than that. It has a little before, a whole lot after, but I just wanted us to focus on that particular snapshot, that passage, for a couple of reasons. One, harassed and helpless. There's been quite a bit of that lately. You've seen the headlines, you've seen the news, you've seen the protests for police brutality, which in turn resulted in more police brutality. When Jesus saw the crowd, he saw them harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. I'm not saying that these are sheep without a shepherd we're seeing in our world today, because there are plenty of leaders who are standing up from within these movements. These movements like Black Lives Matter, the Poor People's Campaign, they are led from the center of the group. The people who are most affected are the ones whose voice is leading the way, and we see that happening. Maybe what we're seeing, though, is society as a whole is in need of that shepherd. So let's just pause for a minute on some of this. First, this shepherd language will probably bring you right back to some of the other conversations we've had, specifically Psalm 23, Lord is my shepherd, all of that good stuff. If you haven't, you should watch that video again. I think it should be right here, is where the little button will be, because there's lots of good resources on shepherd for you to connect with. But I think one thing that's been popping up when I see this passage and I see this language of sheep, shepherd, all this stuff, I've seen people, once again, the whole Black Lives Matter, you post that on social media and you're going to get a whole lot of responses that say, yeah, all lives matter, blue lives matter, white lives matter was trending on Twitter the other day. What? Now, one of my favorite responses to all this that I've seen, which is what really comes to mind with this particular passage, Jesus seeing the crowds helpless, harassed like a sheep without a shepherd, people have looked at the story that Jesus tells of the shepherd and the lost sheep, which is a good thing to come to mind with this passage. Jesus leaves the 99 to go find that one. Jesus isn't saying, you sheep, you don't matter. What he's saying is the sheep who is pushed to the margin, who is the one who is most vulnerable, that's the one who we need to give our attention to during these moments. Imagine if the 99 sheep saw the shepherd leaving to find that one lost sheep and said, what about us? Don't we matter? Yeah, you do, but you're safe right now. This sheep is the one who needs our attention, our care, our support, because something's going on that's causing this sheep to be more at risk than these 99. Okay, I think that's the thing we should sit with when it comes to this passage. If you're preaching it, if you're leading a Bible study, I would recommend you make those pivots. Maybe you look at those Psalm 23 resources, they're great, but really it's looking at this Jesus in the story of the lost sheep and how that so perfectly correlates to what we're experiencing in our world today. Black Lives Matter. Jesus is looking at those who are most vulnerable, and what would he say? Black Lives Matter. Now, chances are you're watching this video and you definitely resonate and agree with that, so I'm probably not going to get a ton of pushback in the comments on this, but I just want to offer this because you're probably experiencing some pushback in the different spaces you live, whether it's in person, online. Well, let's be honest, it's all online right now. So when you are facing that pushback, know that your convictions are true, they're right, they're good. You're following the same impulse of Jesus, who had compassion on these people who were helpless and harassed. And compassion with passion, with empathy, that's the move we need now more than ever. When we see protests that are leading to more violence caused by the people that are supposed to protect the violence, when we see looting turned into just sport by white supremacists, compassion needs to be our first step. Our second step, our third step, our fourth step. Compassion doesn't just mean you say, oh, that's okay. Compassion means you say, how can I try to identify with their experience? The whole right is the language of the unheard. What that means is those of us who might be a little more pasty-skinned or come from places of privilege or power, or perhaps we should have compassion to listen before we speak, to hear what they're saying before we just judge the way it's being said. Okay, I'm gonna go finish my run, and you should go watch those videos and listen to this podcast. All right, see you next time.